Hi, I'm Tyler with the Craft Beer Connoisseurs, and before this episode begins, I just wanted to provide you with a little information on who we are and how you can stay updated on all of our content. This podcast was created to showcase craft breweries and indulge in interesting conversations. We want to help promote a variety of breweries and along the way have conversations ranging from sports to beer and beer to just about anything. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram at Craft Beer Cons, send a friend request on Untappd, or subscribe on YouTube at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. Also, drop a comment, like, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now stay tuned for today's episode. Welcome to Craft Beer Connoisseurs. I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris. And along with us today is producer Phil.
On today's episode, as the name of the title suggests, we'll be looking at Left Field Brewery. This is an exciting episode as we discuss what just might be my favorite brewery. If you like craft beer and baseball, then this brewery is for you.
We'll be highlighting two beers. The first is a double IPA called Laser Show, and the second is a core sour called Bang Bang.
And then we will wrap up the episode by having a discussion on the current state of Major League Baseball and what the future of baseball may look like.
Left Field Brewery is a perfect marriage of craft beer and baseball and is located in an East Toronto residential neighborhood. A small to mid-sized brewery founded in 2013 with a strong focus on brewing baseball-inspired beers.
The brewery was founded by a husband and wife team of Mark and Mandy Murphy.
So I've tried a ton of left field beers, but I haven't actually been to the brewery. I know you guys have been. So do you guys want to kind of let us know like what we can expect if we show up at left field?
So the brewery is kind of hidden. I know it's kind of down a side street, but you do walk up, you know it's a brewery, right? You can kind of tell by the feel and atmosphere outside that it's a brewery. Once you walk in, there's a big scoreboard on the right-hand side.
Front and center.
Nice. Front and center, yeah, it's very nice. You know, a little bar rail in the middle, and then booths and whatnot to your left-hand side where you usually pick up your to-goes, if you will, right?
For sure. And I think the thing is, for me, I love the baseball feel of it. It's a small brewery. It's not overly sized. It's got enough seating, but like it's just got like that baseball authentic vibe. And that's what I like the most.
And that's what they kind of go for with the names of their beers, right? Like everything is baseball inspired. They really go all out with that sort of theme, you know, like the Squeeze Play, that series that they go through, the Prospect. And yeah, it's just great how they really go for that theme.
For sure. And the one thing with the flights, I mean, it's kind of nice. They have like this small little pencil that you have, like it's a mini pen, like putt pencil, which is kind of good. For myself, I've had like their La Vista. It's a mojito sour. It's a great beer.
It
Very tasty.
Yeah.
That beer itself, I got for free once. Big fan of that. I wore a La Vista shirt, showed up. I said, what do I get for free? Because it's about me, right?
Right.
What do I get for free?
And what did you get for free?
They gave me a free pint. I said, this is my shirt. This is La Vista. Hook me up with a pint. And they did.
True story. I was there for that. It happened. And going back to your flight in terms of writing it down, I always find it awkward for the person who's serving me because they have to read my handwriting.
Right.
Right? So, because I do all the cursive writing, so then when I'm writing it in cursive, like whip and squeeze play and squints, they're like, I don't know what you're trying
what
to
did
order.
you write here?
Yeah,
what did you write here, right?
But that is a nice touch, right? Because that's like the, keeping score with baseball. You had that pen and paper or pencil and paper, and it's just, again, going back to the theme.
For sure. It's one of those places that I think like I feel most comfortable at. I'm a big fan of that. When the Jays games are on, they've got them on the TV, which is good. It's a small atmosphere, as we said, but they do a good job, and they pump out a lot of beer.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know they used to have bottles. Now it's pretty much, for the most part, 355 cans. And they serve it in 4-packs right now due to COVID, I'm pretty sure, right?
Right, yep. Yeah, they mix it up. What would be your favorite kind of left field beer?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me. I know I'm kind of going between the Pina Colada Whip that they had.
It's a good series.
And also they just came out with it recently, actually, the Cherry Lime Sour.
Right. Yeah, actually, we picked up a bunch of Cherry Lime thinking we might be recording that and reviewing it for this podcast.
But I drank it all.
They disappeared.
Yeah, they went quick.
They didn't show up to the recording session. But I really like the Rally Cap. And then, we've had the Laser Show before, which we're reviewing today, but I love it. And Greenwood, their regular IPA. I love that beer.
Right.
Yeah, Greenwood's very nice. It's nice and piney and,
Yeah.
and citrusy. I really like the Raleigh Cap in terms of the lactose that comes with it, right? It's a lactose pale ale. Not too many breweries. Some breweries kind of label it as a milkshake IPA. Other ones label it as a lactose, which is what Left Field did
Yeah.
here.
I personally myself, I mean, the Squeeze Play is fantastic. They do a whole series lineup of those with different kinds of fruits, which is good. They came out with this ice cold beer. Now, who doesn't love an ice cold beer? Like you got to say it, right?
You got to say it exactly how Tyler said it. So
Yeah.
if you pick up an ice cold beer from Left Field, when you crack it, you have to say it exactly the way Tyler just said it.
Yeah,
True.
or draw it out even more.
Yeah.
Like the longer it's drawn out with the way you say it, it's amazing.
Hit us with it. Go. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Ice cold beer.
Okay, see, that's a nice little grumble on that.
I like how you
that.
hit puberty there halfway in
well,
between.
thank you. Yeah,
It's great.
that
You
was
got to change the tone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice.
Mine's more
inflection.
like ice
Oh Jesus.
cold beer.
that was good.
Not bad.
Yeah, I don't
That
know,
was
I
pretty
don't know
good.
who's better.
It's all good. I already did mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tyler already did
I
his.
think it's good that way, but no.
Freaking producer Phil coming over here like telling us what to do. Like, no,
No,
Phil.
no, Phil.
It's not your job.
Phil, I already said it. I don't know what's going on here, but no, it's good. I think it's obviously my favorite when you can kind of like take that baseball vibe, put it with the brewery.
Mm-hmm.
You've combined the two of them. I don't think they can do wrong. You pump out whatever beer you want. I'm buying a boatload, whether it's you guys shipping it to me or I'm going to the actual brewery when we can. To sit down and have a couple pints.
And it's always one of those things, like I know me and Tyler for sure, because obviously Chris, you haven't been there, is whenever we plan a trip to Toronto, usually we probably would have been to a couple Jays games by this time now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't been able to make it. But we always plan for Left Field. Left Field is, okay, when can we squeeze Left Field in?
Yeah.
Right? That's our number one. That's our number one thing. Okay, we're going to do this, this, and this. When do we put Left Field? When can we go
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, if you're gonna be at a Jays game, then have a few overpriced beers that aren't very good at the stadium.
We are not reviewing Bud Light on this podcast, just so you know.
Will not happen.
Definitely not. And then take the subway up to Left Field and have some actually good quality beers.
So, Chris, speaking of how to get up to Left Field Brewery, exactly where is it located in Toronto?
Yeah, so it's located at 36 Wagstaff Drive in Toronto, and
And I'm definitely not gonna link it because who knows who runs the social media? Producer Phil, link it. Producer Phil is gonna link their information on the Instagram post today about today's episode at Craft Beer Cons. Yeah, that's CONNS. That's the con part of that. And in the description of the episode on our YouTube channel, Craft Beer Connoisseurs.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna have all the information for this brewery and some of their pints. You can go check that out, and that's no problem. But I think that's enough of the brewery. Let's take a look at the first beer, guys.
first up today is the Double IPA Laser Show with an 8 ABV and 80 IBUs.
A little description of this beer provided by Left Field. Laser Show is born from our love for the tropical, hazy IPAs made in the northeastern U.S. and our particular New England All-Stars laser beam line drives. This double IPA is intensely hopped and fermented with a uniquely fruity yeast strain from Vermont.
Laser Show overflows with flavors of tropical fruit, cantaloupe, and orange juice concentrate. It's a big, juicy beer with soft mouthfeel and an easy finish.
Using the unofficial craft beer app Untapped, you can follow us at Craft Beer Connoisseurs. On Untapped, Laser Show has a rating of 4 bottle caps out of 5, with a total of about 7,300 check-ins, with a handful of check-ins on most days.
All right, time to open her up.
Thank God.
Let's get it.
A little thirsty. Love that sound.
It's the
pour
best
it
sound in
into
the
glass
world.
here.
My goodness. No better sounds than the crack of a mitt and opening this beer. Sloppy pour on my end, but it happens.
That's all right.
Exactly, right?
Nice little head on this one.
Exactly.
I've got a good pour. It's a nice pour.
This smells delicious.
I'm looking around just to see how everybody poured it, just so that way I can like,
Compare.
shamelessly make fun of you or like put mine down to the side.
But
And
like, I think we actually did all right. We all did all right.
Except for Phil. But
So,
you know,
Phil's was terrible.
yeah.
I think first and foremost, Chris, thanks for providing the glassware here.
Yeah, no problem. So we're drinking today out of an IPA glass. You'll be able to see the glass on our Instagram post and our Untapped post. So check that out.
I took a sip. I'll be honest.
You took a sip.
Yeah.
I also just did a sip. It's very good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that right now.
I know I'm a little bit biased on this because it is Left Field Brewery, but it is a delicious double IPA.
Well, on the first couple sips, you can definitely get the 80 IBUs coming through, which is fine because it's a double IPA. So you're expecting that. So, but yeah, it's really good.
And one of my personal favorites is a hazy IPA, and this just kind of falls right into that realm of things. This is
Yeah,
like
and with the double IPAs, you don't see hazy double IPAs all that often. It's usually just the regular IPAs that are the hazies, but it's nice to see the doubles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing is like when I look at this, it's got a nice haze to it. It's a little bit, I don't know if you kind of see like an unfiltered feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that at the bottom,
So,
actually. Yeah.
So there's some kind of hanging fruit, if you will, just kind of hanging around.
just hanging there, right?
Yeah,
Just hanging there.
It's
It's that orange juice concentrate.
Yeah, it's a little pulpy, but I
Love
think
my pulp.
anything for pulp.
So I know they've brewed this in the past. This isn't just a one-time thing. I don't know if it's around all year, but for the most part of the year, I think it's usually there, right?
Yeah, no, this is a core beer.
Was it a core?
Yeah, you can find this in the LCBO. It's fantastic.
Because I know producer Phil, he had a bottle from Left Field that he brought in for us. He's going way, way, way back.
Way back.
Because he's ancient.
OG,
OG, right?
Yeah.
The OG.
Yeah.
Probably from 2013 when they opened up.
Oh, I think
shortly
I think he
thereafter.
was there like first day.
For sure. Yeah.
He was in line.
ready to go.
Well, he did live in that area for a little bit, right?
It's true. Raise the garage door and let me in.
Knocking
me
on
that
there
bottle.
like 9:00 in the morning. They don't open till 11 or 12, by the way.
Right.
But knocking on the door.
That's good.
Yeah, so you'll be able to see that that bottle in our pictures as well. So we've got that antique.
Kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. When I look at this beer, it's tough to kind of compare this beer with other beers of their own, right? Like you have the sour beers, and that for me is a favorite line. But for a double IPA, it's a fantastic beer. 8% alcohol, so you got to be careful how many you're sucking back.
I'm kind of thrown off by a little bit by the 80 IBU, because usually when you get a higher IBU, usually you see maybe a little bit darker coloring to a beer.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe it's more malty, but this one is kind of right in line with perfection.
And I don't feel like it's
Right?
that bitter. Like it is. But
think
I've
in
had
the-
double
I think in the
IPA so
aftertaste.
much.
Yeah, and
Not
that-
necessarily
right.
the first sip.
But
Yeah, the way it
as
sits.
I keep going, as I keep drinking it, it gets a little less bitter.
It's calmer.
Yeah, which
Right.
is nice. Because sometimes that 80 IBUs will hit you really hard, but it. And when I said it, you can tell it's there, but it doesn't hit you, and it's not obnoxious.
Right.
Right.
For sure. Which is funny because that's how people usually describe me.
Right.
But that's just how it is. The thing I like about this as well is that it's baseball oriented. Chris, you don't play baseball with Fife and myself.
No.
But this is a beer we can...
None of us play baseball because of COVID right now, but
Right,
I know
it's
you mean.
true. It's true. But we bond over stuff like this. Like
Absolutely.
you go to a ball game. We also have our producer. He chimes in when we're talking about things. He's coming in with a hot fire note that he does also play baseball as well. Wants that to be
No.
noted.
Didn't he retire?
I think he might be retired.
I thought he retired.
Tough to say.
Speaking
Phil
of the
hanging up
ancient
cleats, eh?
part.
Yeah. Phil's hanging him up, putting him on the shelf, and saying enough is enough. But it's nice to sit down, have a pint that's baseball inspired. Being a double IPA, you give me an IPA, it's good. Double IPA, it's great. You give me a triple IPA, now we're talking. You know, like just,
Those get soapy though.
Yeah.
Those get soapy.
they can be. But this is it's a nice beer. It's got some good flavor to it. The head sticks around for a bit, so
Yeah.
it's a good pour. It's a nice.
This
nice
would
beer.
be a great beer to have after like a nice ball game in the middle of August and hot weather. It's just the issue is I could probably have 4 of those, and then I really hope my wife is driving me home.
immediately regret it.
Immediately regret it.
Immediately.
Also, stay safe. Don't drink and drive.
That's true. Good
Very true.
call. Good call. All right. So when we're talking about this beer, I think we've kind of gone through the coloring a little bit. Maybe not too much. It's still rather light. It is hazy. Good flavor profile to it. Maybe we should just cut into the rating of the beer.
Yeah.
You guys ready for that?
Let's do that. Yeah,
I
like
think
that
I've
idea.
had enough to to give it
Give
a
it
good
a
rating.
nice overall rating.
Yeah.
I think so.
And I think that's great that you say that, because me personally, the way that I rate beers is it's not off the first sip. It's kind of like, let me drink half of it,
Yeah.
see where we're at, get the aftertaste kind of. how
There's
it
a couple
settles.
beers every now and then that you taste like, yep, that is crap.
Right.
Or, oh, this is phenomenal, right? But
Right.
I usually like to give 2 or 3, pardon me, big sips before I do give it an overall rating on Untappd.
It's true, because sometimes you get that first couple sips and you're like, I'm thinking 4 or whatever, and then maybe it gets better, maybe it gets worse. So we're about halfway through, so I think we're pretty good spot to give it a rating.
All right. So what we're going to do is this part of the first beer segment, we will go into our ratings. We're going to finally provide at the end of it an overall average of our ratings, and we're going to put that on our Untappd, which has been listed and discussed before. Before we do that, we kind of want to look at some of the most interesting comments from the public on what their thoughts on the beer were. Before we move that segment over, we want to make a point that this is the OG Laser Show. There was a pineapple flavored one, but we're actually just going to go ahead and we're doing just the OG one. So, Fife, why don't you start off with some of the comments that we've picked up on Untappd?
So this is from Andrew K. His username is AJ Kretz, and we'll obviously any comment that we use for the podcast, we will follow them on Untappd.
Untappd, yep.
Just so everybody's aware, if you get a weird follow from Craft Beer Connoisseurs, it was us.
It's us.
Yeah, that's why. Because we read your comments.
And we appreciate the content. Thank you.
So this was on June 28th. So Andrew had this to say: best way I can describe this beer is an aggressive double crow hop from Mike K, which is another Untappd user. At Miguel Ito 80. He sounds like a, let's say, a relief pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So, aggressive double crow hop from Mike Gay in center field, even though the guy is safe. 8% is daunting on a small can, but this beer slaps.
Oh, yeah.
And Andrew rated that 4 out of 5.
Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did. Sorry, I was too busy worrying about the slap.
You got to get the slap in there.
Good slap. No, so that's fantastic. As a center fielder, I can appreciate where Mike K's coming from. Get that crow hop in there. Make it a show. It doesn't matter if the guy's safe or out.
As a pitcher, though, I would prefer if you threw him out.
For sure. So that's one review. We're going to move on to the next one. So I think Jeff C. Biff Chipman on Untappd on August 12th. He hit us with a very insightful review of Laser Show. His comment was, pew pew, which is funny, because an interesting fun fact about our boy Jeff, because I went into his profile to get a little bit of a deeper dive, and he didn't rate the beer, so there was no rating with it. He has had 1,133 beers, and he's failed to rate 1,104 of them, which makes me wonder why the other.
Jeff, rate the damn beer.
Yes. What's the point of using it if you're not rating it?
But not even that, but like, why did you rate 19 of them?
Right.
Like, where does that come from? You're just sitting around.
Are they all rated 5s? Did you see
Yeah, that's a good point. Only the
Like,
5s get a
fives
rating.
get a rating.
They weren't. I was like, I don't understand this. Like, you've had a lot of beer, but you didn't rate majority of them, all of them, except for 19. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So
How am I supposed to know how good the beer is if you don't rate it?
So Jeff C. Biff Chipman, when you get a follow from us on Untappd, please reach out to us, hit us up in our DMs, let us know what the story is so we can follow this up in a future episode. Let's go to our own ratings here.
Yeah, so I mean, those are great reviews from Untappd users, and we love seeing that stuff. So they're hard to beat, but I'm giving it a 4.5. I really like this beer, and yeah, 4.5 for me.
4.5. For me, I'm probably gonna say about the same. 4.5. I think
Nice.
it's not exactly a 5. It's maybe missing that little je ne sais quoi
Okay.
to make it a 5. But 4.5. Phil's, I don't know what the fuck's Phil's doing over there. But I think he says a 4.5 as well.
Yeah, he's coming in with a 4.5. I think I'm going to come a little bit lower than you guys. I think I'm going to settle in at a 4.25. So between the four of us, that's the three and that, we have a 4.4375. What we're going to do is we're going to toss that onto our Untappd, and it's going to be looking like a...
That's going to bump up to a 4.5.
Yeah, we're gonna average that.
We round up. We're not paying the $4.99 a month for the premium Untappd account yet.
We don't have
may get there.
We don't have the 0.1 ratings, but yeah, we'll go to 4.5 for our group rating here.
And up next is beer number 2, and it is on deck.
The second beer today is a core beer, Bang Bang Dry Hopped Sour, with a 5.5 ABV and 10 IBU.
Bang Bang is a close play that happens so fast you might miss it, or have to take a second look. Bang Bang is a refreshing sour that pops with freshly sliced lemon, papaya, sour candy, tangerine, and hints of pineapple from the Citra, Simcoe, and Cascade Dry Hop.
It is a fruity, tropical hot punch and crisp, tart finish makes Bang Bang the perfect refresher, worthy of a replay.
Bang Bang has an overall rating of 3.82 bottle caps out of 5 on Untapped, and a total of about 4,300 check-ins.
All right, time to open her up. All right, yet again, beautiful sound.
Yes.
An amazing
the
sound.
best sound.
Now
let
the
me tell
pours.
ya. Oh, I think I actually had the best pour this time.
Well, you're the first one to finish.
Yeah,
Always
a
am.
little eager. Oh dear.
Oh dear. So not a lot of head, but it's a sour,
There's
right?
more
So
head
it's a
on
dry
yours.
hop sour.
Yep.
Yeah, I did pour a little bit firmly.
You're a little aggressive on that one.
It does say, by the way, on the can, that it's supposed to pair with freeze-dried ice cream dots and triple cream brie. Those are also two things I've never had.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
I would agree with that. I don't think I've had those.
All right, so like taking a look at it,
You know what? It's a little hazy even. It's,
I was
Yeah.
just gonna say that either that or we're just getting a little bit of condensation in the
Yeah.
glass. Beautiful glasses yet again. This one is made and specific for the sour variety.
Which
So-
we do recommend to drink a sour to a sour IPA out of an IPA glass instead of a stout.
Change your glasses.
yes,
Change your glasses
definitely
up.
use the proper glassware. Little stem on this,
Mm-hmm.
little closed off at the top. Let that aroma kind of escape into
Kind of
your
permeate
nose.
through. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan too of also adding a little bit of a water rinse before you
Yes.
actually pour your beer. But we didn't do that for this one. It looks good. I'm gonna get my first sip in here.
Yeah, let's get the first sip in
Five. It looks like you've had about 3 or 4. So I'm
I'm always first to the party. Don't worry. I've actually never had the Bang Bang before, so this is my first time actually having it. But there was a friend of mine when we went to left field, maybe about a year and a half ago.
It'd be about 2 years ago.
2
now,
years ago, yeah.
yeah.
Who literally just wanted to order a flight of Bang Bang, Bang Bang, Bang Bang, and Bang Bang.
Which is
4 Bang Bangs.
yeah,
4 Bang
he has
Bangs.
4 Bang Bangs on his flight. You can.
Somebody would call him a gang banger.
It's funny though because I don't know why he just didn't grab a pint.
Right.
Like you don't have to get a flight. A flight is
Yeah.
to try and sample. You got a pint. Get one.
He
of those.
just wanted to try 4 different Bang Bangs.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I don't know why you wouldn't just get a pint, but
Anyway,
to each their own.
Yeah, let's get back into the actual beer.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah,
about telling
yeah.
that story, but let's get back into the actual beer now.
Let's take a look at it. We talked about kind of what it looks like from the outside. It had a little bit of a head. It's a sour, so it's not going to hold its head for a long time. But the taste, what are you guys thinking? It tastes pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely get the sour right up front. Not overpowering.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
not
don't
terribly
think.
puckery.
Yeah, because
'Cause I-
sometimes you get it and it's
Exactly.
like, it's just unbearable. But this is definitely bearable.
I think when you go to sours, there's 2 types of sours. One, you can have it more than once in one night,
Yeah.
and the other sour is like you can only literally have one of that, and then you got to move on to something else. This is a sour that you can have more than one of on a nightly basis.
For sure.
Yeah.
For myself, I got to be very careful with how many sours I have in the evening. I don't want to get GERD, and then all of a sudden I get a sore tummy.
Oh.
And then I've
Poor baby.
I know
Yeah.
it's an issue, but the thing is I keep getting attracted to the sours, so I gotta keep going back. And you're right because this does have a different flavor profile than just like a plain Jane sour.
And really, a lot of sours don't hit the 5.5 ABV
Yeah,
that the
good
Bang
call.
Bang does.
Good
So, while yes, you could certainly have a few of these because they're not too sour, that ABV might limit you to maybe just a 2 or 3.
Because usually when they do the squeeze play, which they usually put like different things in cherry lime, blackcurrant, pomegranate.
Right.
There's a few other ones out there.
And they're
It's
delicious.
very delicious.
Yeah.
But it's a lower ABV.
Right.
It's usually about between 4.5, right?
Yeah.
And about the same amount of bitterness, maybe a little bit more.
Kind of pound a couple of those babies back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything.
Well, that's evident by the fact that we are not reviewing the cherry lime because
They're gone.
Because they're gone.
Delicious
They were too
beer.
delicious.
And the thing about the cherry lime, just kind of a fun fact, is this was its second iteration from what I could understand about it, which was great. It was a nice beer the first time around, and I looked back at the reviews, and people wanted it back. Now, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years later, they came back with it. So if you are a little bit too late to the party, hang tight, might come back.
Maybe next summer.
It might.
Summer
Yeah,
might
absolutely.
is sour season, so you might get squeeze play cherry lime next summer.
That's true. All right, so I think we move back onto our rating kind of aspect of this. Let's just see what the Untapped community for Bang Bang kind of looked like. So, Chris, I think you have the first one.
Yeah, so Adrian B, his handle is Miedox, Miedox. So on July 24th, he commented, makes looking at the Trop bearable. Ooh. Go Blue Jays. Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay is definitely not a beautiful stadium.
No, it looks like a marshmallow. It
That's
looks like a
100%
marshmallow.
for sure. Yeah, from the outside. And then on the inside, now that there's no fans in the stadium, it almost looks the same as before.
I was going to say, there's literally no difference.
Yeah.
That was last season for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
They tarped off the upper deck last year because they had no fans.
Right.
I think they have more cardboard cutouts this year than they did actual fans last year.
That would not surprise me.
I don't
The
know.
worst part about it is they're actually like
They're actually a good team.
Which is hilarious.
cannot wait till they move to Montreal in 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll take
Adrian, thanks for your comment. We'll give you a follow on Untapped, and Adrian gave it a 4 out of 5.
And our next comment comes from Joe T. Jojo Talos on June 30th commented, "Bang bang, he shot me down," and gave it 5 out of 5. Out of 148 beers, she has only given 8 5s. Man,
Wow.
tough crowd on her end, eh?
Yeah, so it must be a good beer then.
I was just going to say, yeah, I think that speaks to the actual beer itself, which is fantastic. Out of 5 bottle caps, I'm going to be hitting it with a 3.5.
Ooh, I'm going to go a little bit higher than that. I'm going to go 3.75.
I agree with you, Brett. I'm giving it a 3.75. Not quite enough to get to 4, so sticking with that 3.75. And producer Phil also gives it a 3.75. So overall, we're looking at a 3.68. So
That goes up to 3.75.
Yeah.
Look at that.
All right,
It makes
so-
sense because we had 3.75s.
For
Yes.
sure.
It does add up.
So we'll make sure that gets onto Untapped soon, so check that out shortly, please.
Yes, and that concludes our conversation on Left Field Brewery and the highlights of their 2 beers.
And that is definitely not a swing and a miss.
And so please stay tuned as we transition into a thematically appropriate conversation on the current state of the MLB season.
The 2020 MLB season has not been what we are used to thanks to COVID-19. And unfortunately, this might be a great effect on the game as we know it. So let's just have a general kind of conversation about where we're at, what's going on with kind of COVID-19 with the 2020 season.
There's been a couple of rule changes. Firstly, the extra innings and the runner starting at second base. Now, myself and Tyler playing competitive fast pitch softball, we've known this rule for years. I like it. It's here to stay.
It works.
It's
Yeah.
it's not gonna go out anytime soon. I don't know if it's gonna be there for playoffs, but I do like the fact that when we start in the 10th inning, there's a runner at second base. Lots of strategy involved. Okay,
Yeah.
you got to figure. Okay, let's say for example, I'm just gonna use the Jays. Let's say Danny Jansen was the last hit in the 9th. Okay, maybe you want to put a Billy McKinney, maybe you want to put a Travis Shaw somewhere at second base to start that inning off to make sure you're going to get a run.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's an interesting touch about the rule is that the person to make the last out or the last at bat in the last inning starts at second, right? So you might start just by chance with a fast runner. You might start with a really slow runner. So definitely extra strategy. And then do you bunt him over? What do you do?
Right, and I think that's been kind of the conversation is like, what do you do as the defensive team starting that inning?
Right.
Right, the visitors. And then the home team. What is the strategy that goes in with that? I think with Bo Bichette coming back too with the Jays, if we go specifically to their scenario, you now have Jonathan Villar that can come off the bench as that runner. That guy can steal any base he wants as long as he's smart about it.
The thing that I would like personally, though,
Yep.
is I'd rather see VR at second. I know he's made a couple defensive errors playing. I'm pretty sure shortstop while Bichette was out.
For sure.
But I'd rather have Biggio out and right,
Yeah.
Grichuk in center because of Teoscar being hurt. Right, Teoscar's probably going to be out for the year. He may come back shortly before playoffs.
Right.
But I would prefer that scenario because VR is probably too valuable of a bat not to have in the lineup.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
No, I appreciate that, and especially when you're making that move to get him at the deadline, you don't necessarily want to just stick him on the bench as a pinch runner, for certain circumstances like that. And he has a good bat. He can manage in the field, so I think that's good
For sure.
And then speaking of the trade deadline, like we had a few teams, Blue Jays being one of them, but the Padres specifically
Splash.
Yes.
big time splash. So
Right.
they really went for it at the deadline.
And they kind of got lucky with the Clevenger deal. I know they gave up a few prospects, but with Clevenger kind of falling out of favor with the Indians due to
yep.
COVID-19 and not really giving a crap about it, he did kind of fall in their lap. I know the Jays were in on him, but
Yeah, because
I think the ask
would
was
he
too
have
high.
been available if he
Otherwise,
didn't do that?
right.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
don't know.
what would that have looked like if they just kept him, pitching instead of saying, well, we're going to just kind
I
of
think that
keep you
sends a
on the
bad message to your
sidelines.
fans and the and
Yeah,
in
for
general,
sure.
right?
And it's not like Cleveland's out of it, right?
Right.
Like they could use him too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like San Diego or Slam Diego, right?
Yeah.
They did a great job at the trade deadline. You already have an MVP in Tatis Jr. I love the guy. He's got
Yeah.
flair, but it's not overt. Like it's there. He's got a good kind of balance to it. It's soft. It's approachable. I love it.
So the fun fact about Tatis Jr. is, A, his dad played in the majors, but B, he's kind of similar to Vladdy. It's where you actually want Vladdy to be right now.
Yeah.
Because they're really similar in age. I think Tatis is 21 and Vladdy's 20, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's where you want Vladdy to be. Hitting 320, give me 13, 14 home runs, wherever we're at right now, 40 RBIs. That's where you want Vladdy to be. Vladdy's not there yet. And that's the unfortunate part.
And
Yeah.
they kept their minor system, like league system, intact. They gave up one top 10 prospect. They still have Luis Patino. He's a stud.
And their minor league system is one of the best in baseball.
Right.
So
And you know what? Good for the Canadians going to the Cleveland Indians.
yes,
I
that's
like to see that, Josh Naylor and
Yeah.
Quantrill. Like, good for them. I think that's going to give them kind of a start, and I think it's going to help Cleveland out huge.
Yes. Now, the one thing about Clevenger now moving over to the NL, he's no longer going to hit, but also he wasn't hitting this
So it
year
doesn't
anyway because of the Universal DH.
Right.
So
Doesn't matter. And that's the thing. It's moving from starting pitchers to relief pitchers. You now have this new rule in place. Relief pitchers have to throw to 3 batters.
Yes.
Thoughts, feelings.
I personally like it. I think there should be a guy who, well, let's say a lefty's coming in. He shouldn't just be able to face one guy and be done. Okay?
Yeah.
I can face one guy in the majors. Pay me $600,000. I'll do it. Right?
I-
But a lot
yeah.
of lefty specialists are failed starters.
Right.
yeah, a lot of bullpen guys.
A lot of bullpen guys are failed starters.
And I get that, right? Like as a major league player, you should be able, especially a pitcher, you should be able to get both types of hitters
do
out.
not care.
But at
There
the
it
same
is.
time, you're really handcuffing the managers, right? Like it tags. We're talking about putting strategy in the game. It really takes strategy out of it, right? Because you're really handcuffed.
I can understand where kind of MLB is coming from. They want to speed things up a little bit. They want to move it. But as a hardcore baseball fan, I want that just game. I want them to move the pieces
Yeah.
around. I want to see what's happening. I want that lefty specialist to come in. I don't care if you throw 2 pitches to a lefty, right? You throw him, you strike that guy out, boom, you're out. Next guy, bring him in. It's a righty versus righty matchup game.
The one thing
Let's
I
move
do
it.
miss about this being the universal DH and people throwing to 3 batters is a double switch. I enjoy me a good double switch, right? In terms of, let's say your pitcher's batting 9th and you want to bring in a player for him. All of a sudden, now he's hitting, the pitcher spot is now in the 6th hole.
Right.
Right. And then your hitter's playing 9. I like that strategy. I like watching a lot of National League games. And I actually grew up watching a lot of Atlanta Braves games on TBS or whatever the heck it's
Right.
called.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it was so different than what you're watching with the Blue Jays. Right?
Yeah,
because
it was, for
It is
sure.
2 different leagues
Right.
at the end of the day because there's 2 different strategies to go into it.
Yeah, and I think maybe that sort of strategy piece might be a little bit overblown sometimes. Like it's not that difficult to decide when you want to do a double switch, but I mean I just don't want to see pitchers hitting because they're not good hitters, right? So
But see, I'd rather them put more effort into it so they could be somewhat decent hitters.
but then would that subtract to their pitching?
Maybe, but I like the 2-way player. I like Ohtani. I know Ohtani's not doing this year because of his arm.
But that's the thing, though, right? Is like Ohtani could have went to the NL. He didn't. He
True,
chose the
you're 100%.
AL.
Right, for the DH, yeah.
And those are the things like, okay, well, I can either DH or I can play a different position and pitch as well, right? But I think it's interesting to see when you look at bullpens and how they're kind of manufactured now. I still think a lefty specialist is huge. I like that strategy. It's interesting with the fact that like a lot of teams now are not throwing as many fastballs, right? They're decreasing. They're going with the off speed. You see a lot of the sinker, slider, changeup kind of repertoire. You still have the guys that can throw a piss rocket. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more of this changeup, curveball kind of like mentality. And maybe that's because you know if you bring a lefty in, you have to get through those three batters.
I think the reasoning for that is because you come up as a youth being taught hit the fastball.
Yeah.
Because you probably don't see a good curveball until you're 15, 16. Right?
Yeah.
So then when you're in the majors and you see like an excellent curveball, you have no idea what's hitting you. Right? You have, oh, that broke. Okay, that's 20 miles per hour slower than your fastball. I can't touch that.
Yeah, I think it's just maybe some, the last few years the hitters have really been going crazy with record home run rates and that sort of thing, and now the pitchers just kind of catching up. Juice ball.
I know it.
Conspiracy.
Exists. I know it exists. Now, here's another thing too, right? With the change in the rules for this year, the 7-inning doubleheaders. Where do we stand with that? Because I think it's good. It speeds the game up a little bit. You save a little bit of your bullpen, but you also get to call that extra guy up, right, for the second game, which is great. It's different.
I think they need to do it because there's so many doubleheaders happening, right? Like a ton of teams, the Cardinals, the Marlins, they've had these COVID-19 outbreaks. The Cardinals didn't play for 2.5 weeks at one point, right?
They got jamming a lot of games.
They had to make up a ton of games.
And they're still probably going to make the playoffs.
Right.
At the end of the day.
And they're not even going to play the full 60 games. I think they're only scheduled for 58.
Yeah.
So
does it stay though? Does it stay?
I don't think it stays.
You think it's just going to be 2020?
I wish it was 162 games with scheduled doubleheaders, like scheduled 7-inning doubleheaders.
Yes.
Like
Right.
maybe have a 4-game series over a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and do Saturday. I don't care if it's a day night or a traditional.
Get the 4 in and a 3.
Like whatever, right? Like
And then you could start mid-April and mid-September. Like
I think it still starts early or the end of March.
Just more off
But
days,
the
maybe.
playoffs start middle to end of September because you keep those 16 teams and you do what they're doing this year, right?
Oh, okay. The expanded playoffs to stay. I like that.
I would be a fan of the doubleheader on a Saturday. Do like a Friday, get 3 games in, and then Sunday is just an off day, travel day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, schedule that into the 162 games. We know eventually they're going to be expanding this. We know that they're going to be going to another team sooner or later.
Yeah.
It's going to all change in the next 5 to 10 years. Let's move people through the system. Let's get people going. And I think this next collective bargaining, that's what you're going to see.
100%.
There's going to be a challenge there, right?
Yeah.
But we'll see what ends up happening. I know that it's kind of a mentality that's similar to the Japan with the Sundays off. That's fantastic. We'd love to see it. I think what we're going to end up doing here. Anybody else got any final comments?
Go Blue Jays.
Go Blue Jays.
Yes, go Blue Jays. Let's get to the playoffs.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this into our farewell, and thank you for sticking along this part of the episode. We're going to head out soon, and stay tuned for our goodbyes. Thank you. And that's all the time we have. There's no extra innings for this episode.
Thanks for listening. Just a heads up, the Craft Beer Connoisseurs releases a new episode every other Thursday.
Please make sure you tell your friends and family about us.
So from all of us and the producer Phil, I'm Tyler.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Chris.
And together, we're the Craft Beer Connoisseurs.